You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I mean, all Zelensky had to do today was put on a tie, show up, smile, say thank you, sign the papers, and have lunch.
Well, this is one for the history books. I'm sure you are all aware about the meeting that got very heated between Zelensky, Donald Trump, and JD Vance. So in this video, we will go over all of the most recent meltdowns surrounding this meeting. Now, before we start this video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. Let us begin.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people.
Now, whether or not you're a Republican or Democrat, the expectation was we were about to see a massive economic deal signed between the United States and Ukraine, and this would be one step forward towards peace between Russia and Ukraine.
We're their patron. We're their best hope for the king to stop and for them to emerge from this sovereign and prosperous, and we're also their best hope as a business partner. I mean, all Zelensky had to do today was put on a tie, show up, smile, say thank you, sign the papers, and have lunch. That's it. And he couldn't do that. And this followed 10 days of being difficult in private, and now 1 day of being stupid in public.
Now, here's where things get complex, because the majority of Americans actually support Ukraine in defending themselves against Russia. However, the trust in Zelensky is dropping.
Feelings towards Zelensky have changed also dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72% through the floor. Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs.
Now, the reason why I showed you that statistic is because we are seeing some big Zelensky supporters actually not support him in the way he conducted himself during this meeting.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I actually agree with Scott. And everything that he said was basically right.
Wow.
I know, I'm going to get on social media for admitting that, but so be it. And the fact is that it doesn't matter whether Vice President Vance planned it or just took the opportunity to bait Zelensky. Zelensky took the bait, okay? Yeah. And he shouldn't have. He made a mistake.
Now, as far as taking the bait, here is what that news anchor is talking about. A very heated exchange between JD Vance and Zelensky.
I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
Now, to give you the full picture, a lot of people are claiming JD Vance had planned this in advance. He was going to go in on Zelensky in front of everybody, and this is when Zelensky started to bark back at JD Vance, and this is when Donald Trump said, "You need to stop. You cannot tell us how to feel. We are the ones supporting you." Again, leave your comments down below how you feel about this.
I don't think anybody had any idea that Zelensky would be so impertinent, so disrespectful, so insulting to the United States of America after years of being fleeced and abused and taken advantage of and taken for granted. Millions of American hearts swelled with overflowing pride today.
Never in the history of modern diplomacy, war, peace, whatever, have I ever seen anything like it. We just have to hope that for the safety of the free world and for the American people, for the European people, for the Ukrainian people, that these two presidents get out of breath and try to iron out their differences.
Now, to make things even more interesting, Zelensky basically got kicked out of the White House. And by the way, we will show you what Zelensky had to say about all of this, but check out this clip first.
Vance brought it up. Is World War III.
Congressman, sorry to interrupt. We want to listen in.
That would happen.
President Zelensky, can you tell us what happened?
It was difficult to hear there. President Zelensky, as he was exiting the White House, clearly yelled at cameras, but it was hard to make out exactly what he was saying.
Now, it's being reported that Zelensky actually wanted to come back and talk to Donald Trump, but here's what Donald Trump had to say about the situation as well.
What does Zelensky need to do to restart talks with you?
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay? I can tell you.
Now, sitting front row during this entire heated exchange was Marco Rubio, and this picture came out and the entire internet was reacting. People couldn't tell if he was upset, if he was uncomfortable, but he did go on CNN to give his opinion.
President Trump's made deals his entire life. He's not going to get suckered into some deal that's not a real deal. We all understand this. We understand it on our end for certain. And so the goal here is to get to a place where we have to explore whether peace is possible. I've said this repeatedly. I don't know. I think it is, based on what they've said so far, but we have to explore that. How else is this war going to end? I ask people, what is the European plan to end this war? I can tell you what one foreign minister told me, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I can tell you what one of them told me, and that is that the war goes on for another year, and at that point, Russia will feel so weakened that they'll beg for a peace.
Now, you are probably noticing a very common theme, not only from Donald Trump, but his cabinet members, is that they want Zelensky to be more upfront and say he wants peace and he wants this war to end.
The screaming, I mean, you have been with Donald Trump a lot. We have seen and heard about Trump getting upset and losing his temper. I think this is probably the first time we have seen it like this on camera. We all should say, Caitlin, that let's just be clear. I'm not saying that there wasn't genuine anger here, but he understands when the television cameras are there, as does J.D. Vance, and we can't lose sight of the performance aspect of this.
Now, you can leave your opinions and comments down below, but I truly do wonder if the cameras were not present and this meeting was not so transparent, would we have seen a deal that brings us one step closer to peace with Russia? Because if you are unaware, the media is not showing you the full beginning of this entire meeting, because for a while, everything was going very well. There was some fun banter. Everything was looking great. And then towards the end, as you saw, everything just fell apart.
I mean, you can put words in my mouth and then argue with them, but that doesn't mean I said them. What I said was the money wasn't... I was trying to explain what Zelensky meant when he said he'd like to see where that money went.
If he's in charge of that country and their finances, then dadgummit, why doesn't he know where the money went? That's what you're saying, and you can't have it. That is wrong. We're borrowing that money. Every dollar we gave Ukraine is borrowed. We are borrowing that from our great-grandchildren. We're $36 trillion in debt. We have no business being over there, except a lot of people's stock portfolios is going through the roof.
Now, to give you guys the full picture, another very common argument, and you sort of heard it from Donald Trump, is that, look, whatever it takes, we just need to end this war. It's been going on for too long. However, here's what Zelensky had to say after the heated exchange and the meeting, and he sort of talks about this particular topic, that he wants Donald Trump to be more on the side of Zelensky.
I want to be very honest, I want really him to be more at our side. I will explain why. Because it's not just that the war began somewhere between our countries. The war began when Russia brought this war to our country, and they're not right. And they are not right. They didn't respect our territorial integrity. They brought the war on our territory to our families. Sorry for repeating, to our houses. And they're not right. And of course, all the Ukrainians want to hear strong position of the United States on our side.
Yeah, this is really one of the most disgraceful performances that I've seen, and I think it's important to understand that, in particular, Trump and Vance own this personally. This is the kind of attack on a country that's defending itself from an unprovoked aggression, and they just unleashed on Zelensky in public. And
So as you can see, there are a lot of different meltdowns and a lot of different opinions as far as how this heated exchange went. However, there's one angle that a lot of Americans actually expect Zelensky to do, which is apologize for how he conducted himself against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people helped to save our people. People, the first. Human rights, the first. This is very, very important. And we are thankful and sorry for this. I mean, we wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I'm very calm that we will have it.
Now, as far as doing research for this video, that is the closest clip I can find as far as Zelensky saying he is sorry or he apologizes to the American public for what happened during this heated exchange. At least we are seeing some positive vibes from Zelensky, and I truly do believe eventually we will see a deal. Otherwise, I mean, how much longer is this conflict going to go on for?
But this did not have to go down this way.
Okay.
And however you feel about why it started, why it's going on, who's right and who's wrong, we can help them in this and come out okay on the other side, and he's making it hard.
I urged him to stay on message, be grateful, be thankful. We'll talk about details of security guarantees later. Keep it upbeat, keep it positive. It was absolute, utter disaster. The question for me is he redeemable in the eyes of Americans? Most Americans witnessing what they saw today would not want Zelensky to be their business partner, including me, and I've been to Ukraine 9 times since the war started. I met with him this morning. President Trump I talked to last night, he was upbeat about the deal. I've never been more proud of President Trump for showing the American people in the world you don't trifle with this man. He was very positive. He was very upbeat. He wanted to get a ceasefire. He wants to end the war. And Zelensky felt like he needed to debate Trump in the Oval Office. JD was awesome.
So this was very shocking news to see that Senator Lindsey Graham had something pretty negative to say about Zelensky. And the fact that he sort of exposed the fourth wall and told everybody Donald Trump was actually very excited for this deal, that actually makes me a little upset. And I really try not to give my opinions too much. That makes me upset because that was one step we could have taken towards Ukraine and Russia and hopefully trying to suppress this conflict and end the war. But again, you're seeing the news come out that Senator Graham is even saying this deal was supposed to happen.
I can tell you that the vice president or the secretary of state or anybody else, they don't jump in, hijack a conversation without the express blessing of the president of the United States. So J.D. Vance did that deliberately. Donald Trump knew what he was going to do. And I think, as he said at the end, because he can't, help himself, this was a setup for the cameras. It was a play to his base. But above all, it was a play to Vladimir Putin, to show fealty to Vladimir Putin, and to try to humiliate Zelensky. But
again, I have no way to verify whether or not this was a complete setup and Donald Trump was looking over at J.D. Vance to cut him off and show how strong J.D. Vance was and how tough he was. I have no way to verify that. However, I just wanted to show you some of the talking points that are anti-Donald Trump and anti-J.D. Vance is that J.D. Vance, you're only the vice president. You don't have the authority to cut anybody off. Again, you can leave your comments and opinions down below. This is not a very popular talking point, but it is a talking point.
So the poll question essentially is, do you support a Russia-Ukraine negotiated peace deal? The vast majority of Americans, this is what they want. 78% say that they support this idea versus just 16% oppose. Of course, as we were talking about, does this question actually get at what's going on right now? I think you would say that it probably does not necessarily get what's going on right now.
No, the question asked, do you support a Russia-Ukraine negotiated peace deal? Ukraine's not there at the negotiations in Saudi Arabia this week, so the people were not asked this. And I do think, in general, if you ask anyone in any poll, do you support peace, peace tends to rate pretty highly.
So as you can see, the mass majority of Americans, they do want peace between Ukraine and Russia. Now, as far as the ignorance of the American or the education level, as far as the knowledge of what's actually going on in this conflict, I don't know how many Americans actually know this conflict has been happening since 2014, or the nuances with the conflict as soon as Zelensky became the leader and everything else that's going on. Point being, there's no way to quantify if Americans truly know the full context, and that is why you have some news anchors getting very upset at the American public for saying, no, we need to be all in with Zelensky, but then on the flip side, you have news anchors say, no, we don't have to be all in with Zelensky, we hold all the cards.
That if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't been
in this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
If you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. What's interesting about this conflict, it's not really a Republican versus Democrat talking point. This is really an American talking point, because you have a lot of Democrats who actually don't even support Ukraine, but you have a lot of Republicans who do support Ukraine, and you have a lot of different nuances within that data as well. So anyway, thank you guys for everything. God bless. Thank you for being here. We have so much more work to do, and we are going to continue to keep reporting the news every single day. Thank you for everything.